Good morning, guys. Mark here again, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, you love cars and DIYs, please consider subscribing and check out my playlist. Alright, so on today's DIY, this is actually for intermediate DIYers. Was actually hesitant to upload this video as incorrect procedure will destroy or damage your engine. So just a word of caution, if you're gonna replicate what I'm going to do right now, please follow each and every step. Don't skip any part of the video as the instructions are very important. Alright, so for today's video, I'm gonna teach you guys on how you will adjust the valve clearance, set the timing on your engine, the cam timing and the ignition timing. Um, and basically check or adjust the clearance of your valves um, using the manufacturer specification. So for this DIY, you need to have a 19 millimeter socket. That's actually for the crankshaft pulley, the filler gauge, a ratchet, and the tools that we will need to remove the filter assembly, and then the timing belt cover, and so on. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. I do have a separate video on how to do it. We'll show you. So let's move on to the removal of the timing belt cover. Alright guys, so once the assembly is removed, or the filter, air filter assembly is removed, you will need to remove the this terminals. Okay. Alright, and then the hose on your PCV valve, the breather hose, and the cover. Alright, and there should be six 10 millimeter bolts that need to be removed in order for us to be able to lift the um, head cover. Okay, let me place you guys right here.
A few moments later.
So I actually opened this already once. The problem is, even if you put some oil or grease right before returning it, due to the heat that the engine is going through, um, there is a chance that the nuts and bolts will um, what do you call this, get stuck with the threads when you try to remove it like this. Okay, now the cover should come right off, and let me just clean the cover. Okay, so you can see it's dirty with grease, so I'll clean that later with some cleaners that I have. This is your timing belt, this is your camshaft gear, and just clean that. um Never ever use, guys, any chemicals on your belts, especially the belt dressing. That only hides the signs and symptoms of wear and tear of your belt, um, but it really doesn't help. um, okay. So next step, guys, is all right. So that's the timing belt, the cam gear. Okay.
12 seconds later.
So if a bolt is stuck, guys, what you will need to do is just give it a little push. Or if you have an impact wrench, but in this case, you don't need to use such. As you can see, I was able to uh, remove it by simply pushing. Okay. Um, so head cover should just come right off. Uh, okay. All right. So all you need to do now is just remove the um, cover, and don't forget the gasket, guys. Um, just be very extra careful not to uh, tore it apart. Okay. Mm, okay. So I might just need to. Um, the head cover gasket is already cooked, or basically forged to the cylinder head block. I'll just leave it there. Just a quick demo, guys. Um, these are your valves. This would be your intake valves, this six, and this is your exhaust valves, the three one. Okay. The way it works is you need to place each cylinder in top dead center in order for us to be able to adjust the valve tappets. The valve tappets are this one, okay, and then the valve retainer, the valve spring, etc. Okay. In order for us to set the timing, we will need to turn the crankshaft pulley, which is underneath. Okay, and this is how you um, set the timing. There is a marker on your cam gear. Make sure that the that one is pointed to this arrow. Okay, so let me go ahead and do it. So using your 19 millimeter socket, um, okay, so look for the crankshaft pulley, and then okay, turn it like this. So the turning will be a bit heavier once the load of the camshaft touches the rocker arm. Okay, that's just about right. Let me just view it from this angle. Okay. All right. So let's check which cylinder is open. All right. So cylinder 1 and uh, 3. Okay. So the intake for cylinders 1 and 3 are both open, and then the exhaust for 2 and 1. So the measurement would be 0.006. This is actually the specs provided by the manufacturers for Hyundai Eon. So intake is 0.006, which would be this one, 0.006 millimeters. All you need to do is just um, place the filler gauge in between the valve tappet and the valve itself. Let me just bend this a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually still within specs. I have adjusted this a few years ago. I'll show you how to measure it. Okay, there you go. So you should feel a little resistance when pulling out the filler gauge. Let's check the exhaust. Exhaust is 0.008. This is the standard, guys. Let's see. Yeah, it's still within specs, guys. Let's see. Let me show you guys. You see that? So there's still resistance when pulling out the gauge like that. Yeah, so no need to adjust, but if ever you will need to adjust the clearance, guys, you'll need to loosen up the nut and then turn the tap it clockwise to basically to uh, um, tighten the clearance, and counterclockwise to uh, loosen the clearance or make the gap bigger. All right. So you could set the intake depending on your preference. So 0.006 is the standard. 0.008 for the exhaust is the standard, but you can put up to 0.008 to the intake, and then up to 0.010 for the exhaust. Okay, those are the range indicated by the manufacturer. Um, yeah, uh, I don't think that I need to adjust the clearance. As I mentioned, I have just adjusted this a few years ago, and you can see that it's still within specs. I might adjust this maybe after 2 years if the gap gets bigger, if it's noisy, Okay, so when do we adjust the valve clearance? Ideally, this should be adjusted around 80 to 100,000 kilometers or every 4 to 5 years. Okay, depending on the usage of your car, if it's daily driven or you keep on using it on long drives, then that period might be much quicker. Okay. So yeah, I'll go ahead and turn everything back together. I'll just clean some parts, and you can see, guys, the cylinder head is clean. That's because of the oil that I'm using. You don't see any buildup. I'm using Petron's fully synthetic, but I'll switch to an Ison fully synthetic. Next oil change, that's around June. Okay. And right before I return the everything, guys, I will be cleaning the cover with carburetor cleaner, especially the timing belt cover. um, yeah, and I'll put everything back, and we should be good to go. Okay, let me just clean this real quick. Okay, and I'm gonna wipe it dry. Right, so basically I'm just gonna repeat the reverse the process. So I'm just gonna create a time-lapse video for you guys.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. So I just finished starting and checking for leaks. The engine sounds good. Even from inside, you barely hear any noise coming from the engine. You saw in the video, it's still within specs. If you find the video useful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Share the video and check out the other videos that I have on my playlist. Again, this is Mark. Thank you so much for the love and support, guys. Until our next video.